IVM.
Sports are the most important thing in the world, especially if your shirt cannot be cleaned. But in the meantime, if it can, turn to the Fan Garage, also known as FG. Say it together quickly with me. Fug. Fan Garage. All that you want to know about sports, especially cricket and football. Is there another sport? New episodes out on the IVM podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Alright, please note that the language and ideas presented on the show might not be suitable for everyone. If you're under 18, make sure your mom isn't around. If you're over 80, why is your mom around?
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
People have been complaining here on Cyrus Says that we need to see some international people on our show. So we're giving you Sanjeev Gadhia from Kenya, who started one of the greatest cargo airlines the world has ever seen. His story is riveting.
Why follow your auntie's advice when you can follow Cyrus Says on Facebook and Twitter to stay updated about the latest shows?
What is it with people in dressing rooms? I'm talking about men because I'm not allowed with the women dressing. What is it with the men in dressing rooms who cover themselves with towels from head to toe and change very quietly in a corner? I've done some research on that. People who are ashamed of their bodies or scared to, take off their clothes in front of other people, especially men who know each other over a period of time. Well, one, of course, is sexuality, which is fine if that is the issue. But there's another issue. If you're a psychopath or sociopath, this is sociopathic behavior. It's one of the clues that you might become a killer. Ted Bundy, Charles Manson used to do this. Hide while changing in schools when they were young kids. So be very careful. If you notice someone in your area who changes in a corner and is trying to hide all the time, there's something wrong with him. Be very careful and keep all the kitchen knives and all away from him, whatever happens. It's called Cyrus Says.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Okay, here on Cyrus Says, we finally get a CEO who earns a lot of money. We've had some poor people on this show. We're almost like a communist channel for the last few days. But now we have someone with money. Sanjeev Gadhia has come all the way from Africa, out of Africa. You must have heard this phrase 250 times. And he is, first of all, the founder and CEO of Astral Aviation Limited, which is a dedicated all-cargo airline based in Nairobi, Kenya, and operates a fleet of 7 cargo aircrafts into Europe and, of course, Africa. Now, what this means is, if you're an Indian and he's of Indian descent, you can give him a little money and he'll put you in the cargo and you can get to travel at a very low rate. Absolutely. And that's how SpiceJet was born. Right? Sanjeev, welcome to our podcast. It's called Cyrus Says.
Thank you,
because
Cyrus.
my dad put in the initial money.
Okay.
And so I said name it after me. But now that money is gone, so it's probably going to be called Pooja. Because that's Amit's girlfriend, the proprietor. Okay. Let's talk about you, Sanjeev Gadhia. Tell us a little bit. First, let's talk about Astral Aviation.
Yes.
Just explain that. So it's cargo stuff.
That's right. I started Astral Aviation 17 years ago because there was a general need to operate cargo aircrafts in East Africa, which is where I'm from.
Right.
And we have a lot of challenges in Africa. We have poor roads, we have customs issues, we have theft. So we decided...
You have Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata, absolutely.
And the actual folk song goes like this, doesn't it? It's a different tune. I remember them playing it with a guitar. It's more like, na 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 na. You do it. Can you sing it?
Hakuna Matata.
Yeah.
Hakuna Matata, which means life has got no problems at all. And that's a very good phrase that
we hold it at the Pakistan border every day and say, Hakuna Matata, Hakuna Matata. And they keep shooting. I'm just kidding. Peace to all. Yeah, sorry I interrupted you. Cargo?
Yes, so it's a great business to be in, and the amazing thing with cargo is it never complains. You don't have to.
Hang on, that's a good line. We got to stop there for a second. We don't have too many good lines normally when you do the show. Yeah, so cargo because today's just getting onto that thought for a second. Today's traveler has gone berserk thanks to the internet. Every little thing. My seat has one small quarter-inch tear, and they write 30 letters to the company. They put it on Twitter. They put it on Facebook. They put it on Instagram. They have pictures everywhere, and you think it's the biggest criminal and crime syndicate of all is this airline.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're joking about it, but it must be great not having to deal with people.
Yeah, and it's really fantastic, because we don't carry passengers, we don't have stewardesses, we don't have in-flight catering.
You sound like Air India.
we don't show movies, so with cargo, it's a big demand for cargo, and cargo never complains. If it complains, you just lock it up in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And I really love this business.
But how do you get the idea from a business point of view that cargo is the way to go? Think of all the glamour that's associated and all the people in India who we know of who start airlines seem to like the glamour quotient of being a high-flying tycoon.
Absolutely. The thing is that I'm a banker by profession.
Oh, is it?
So when I finished my banking in London and I came back to Kenya, I couldn't get a job. And it was like...
What happened to Ache Din? Oh, that's our country.
So I actually decided that the way forward is to actually provide logistics, and logistics by air is the best form of logistics. So we initially started off with some Russian aircrafts, and we had this
who were on the way to Ukraine?
All the way from Ukraine. They came in this big Russian aircraft with about 10 people in each aircraft. We had a lot of fun with the Russian crew because it was like the Wild West. They could go anywhere in Africa. They were not scared like the European crew, and we had a lot of fun.
They're not used to rules, is what you're saying.
Well, exactly.
What difference the border makes? This is my Russian accent, by the way.
And they were quite happy to go to Somalia and quite happy to go to Sudan and all the dangerous places because for them it was like being at home.
Man, this is the most racist conversation I've ever had. Yeah, go on.
So we had a lot of fun with the Russian aircrafts. At one time, we operated about 5 of the Antonovs, and they could land anywhere. They didn't need any sophisticated equipment, and those were the right aircrafts for Africa until the regulators caught up on us and they said, no, it's time to send the Russian aircrafts.
You put an Indian and a Russian
home
together, the Indian mind, the Russian bravado, and boom! I think this is a big hit.
It was dynamite. Yeah. So after 8 years, we managed to send the Russian aircrafts home, and then we managed to get a fleet of Western aircrafts, and it's really exciting because some of the things that we do is we carry flowers and vegetables from Nairobi to London, and this is something that we do on our larger 747. We also carry a lot of cargo from India, which comes into Nairobi, and especially the
These are mostly relatives?
Well, not for the moment, but relatives cargoes. You could actually put it that way. And I'm in Mumbai at the moment for an air cargo event, which has just started today, and we have a lot of customers over here. So we really, we're coming back to India feels like you're coming back home and connecting and doing business with people from Mumbai and from different parts. It's a really good feeling, and it's been a journey which I've really enjoyed for the last 17 years.
Is this your first trip to India?
No, Cyrus, I've been coming to India at least twice a year. We have obviously religious connections. I come here at least once a year to go to our temple and then meet a few of our clients. We have a lot of good friends over here as well, but on the relative side, very few. So what's happened is that my family moved to Kenya. We originally Gujarati, so we come from a town called Dhari.
Gujarati bolage?
Gujarati bolage, but not
Thodu. Like Parsis.
Yeah. So my family came from Gujarat to Kenya in 1922.
What are you saying?
So we've been there for
my producer
a long
was hardly
time.
3 or 4.
Yeah, so we've been there for a long time, and the Gujarati population in Africa, you've got the Gujaratis who live in South Africa and East Africa, and
I won't mention Uganda.
And Uganda, exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it's really a good place to do business, and we've sort of all grown up over there and studied abroad, come back and start businesses.
Are you friends with the Gupta family in South Africa, who Jacob Zuma?
Well, not really.
Investigated
unfortunately.
okay.
Yeah. So what's happening is that traditionally the Indians who have lived in Africa are different from the ones who have actually moved into Africa over the last 10 to 15 years, and we do a lot of good things for society. We are sort of we employ a lot of people regardless of which tribes they come from. We do a lot of social and charity projects, and we do business in a relatively
the old families,
manner. The old families, the
and
ones
what is this with the modern guy who comes over?
So the modern ones are very opportunistic. They're there for the short term.
Typical
gain.
Indian is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're there for the short term gain. But when you do business in Africa, you have to have a very long term view, and this is where we are coming from. So,
but aren't we a little unpopular with the local population? That's what I was told, that because we have all the money, and as happens all over the world,
yes.
If a small community has more money than the local population,
yes.
not so happy.
Yes.
Is that there?
Well, I think the Indians are looked at as a source of envy, but we also have a lot of things that we do from a charity point of view. Our family values it makes us different from the other people. But having said that, if you compare the Chinese and the Indians, these are the two big communities. There's still a lot more respect for the Indian community compared to the Chinese community for obvious reasons, and obviously our.
So we continue our fight with China, even in Africa, is what you're saying.
Exactly,
yeah.
but obviously, in the case of dogs, we consider them as pets,
stop
not
it.
as a source of
please,
food.
Please. You're going to draw the line. This guy's ridiculous. I'm scared. You got a plane to fly in. What happens to us? We can't even pay money for the ceiling. Okay, Sanjeev, we stop you in the middle of your whole story, which is you're here for a cargo event.
Yes.
But what I want to do now is look back a little bit, because the whole idea is to look at the entrepreneur, where he came from. Now, you're saying you're an old, when I say old family, 200-300 years of 4 or 5 generations of the Gadhia family being there.
That's right.
In Kenya. Where? In Nairobi itself.
Well, we came from a very small town called Kisumu, which is on the lakeside town of where the Lake Victoria is.
Okay.
But we live in Nairobi now, and this is where our home is.
And you speak a local language? You speak Swahili?
Yes, we speak Swahili. And
would you like to say something in Swahili so people know that we're not lying and we just got someone from Leopold and said, "Chalo, foreigner hai, kuch bole."
Jambo habari gani?
Jambo.
Jambo bwana.
Yeah, Jambo
habari
bwana.
gani?
Yeah, I know the
Mazuri
song.
sana.
Yeah.
It's a song that they
It's a
sing
beautiful
everywhere.
song. Yeah,
It is.
I must say, we'll pause for a second to talk about Kenyans. I found very, very warm people.
Indeed.
And very friendly and nice, and seem to have a very happy, in spite of all the things that happened to them with the British, etc., to study their history a little bit, but still a smile, in a sense, very Indian,
Absolutely.
ethos, able to smile through everything, whatever the majburi is, as we say.
Yes, and generally I've noticed that Kenyans are very tolerant, very patient, and they don't sort of, get angry or sort of, they don't really have any issues as such, and they're very warm and nice people, and I really feel so glad that,
And
I
without
was
being
born in
sexist,
Kenya.
lots of good-looking women.
Absolutely.
I saw some really hot women, I must say. So if you want to go for a good holiday, Kenya, not because
Kenya
of the
is the
women,
place.
but because of the animals and the culture and the warmth and the food. It's all interesting
Absolutely.
stuff. Sanjeev, time to talk more about you and your life. Take us through now how you came here. You said you went to banking. You studied banking and you're a proper full-fledged banker.
Yes.
Amazingly, couldn't get a job in spite of your British education in banking. So let's go back a little bit and tell us about your life. You grew up firstly in Nairobi.
Yes, so I was born in Kisumu, which is a small town in Kenya, and something interesting happened at the age of 7. My parents decided to pack me up and send me to a boarding school in Bangalore.
What are you saying?
This was in 1978 when Bangalore was like a beautiful city.
Good you're saying it. They're about to go to elections, but I've been telling Bangalore that they have to improve from being the most cosmopolitan city, most tolerant and nice city. They've got berserk.
Absolutely. And the thing is that when I went to Bangalore in 1978 to study in a boarding school, it was a very different
Which one was
experience. This was Bishop Cotton's boys' school.
Very famous.
Yeah, so I was in Bishop Cotton's from 1978 to 1985.
So you're a Pakka Indian, brother.
Absolutely. I'm a South Indian.
You're a South Indian, Indian, you're a Gujarati Manas, you're everything. You're an Indian.
Absolutely. And I'm
I'm
very
ashamed.
proud. I'm very proud to be one. Yeah. So when I was 8 years old, I arrived in Bangalore and I was staying in this boarding school, boys only, by the way. So the only time when we could
Those
actually
things haven't changed.
when we see women was actually on a Sunday. So the 8 years that I spent in
Sounds
Bangalore
like
were very
Patna.
memorable.
6 days, no ladies in sight.
And it's only on Sunday, and we meet in the chapel, and we're also well behaved. And it took about 3 to 6 months to date a chick from Bishop Cotton Girls' School, and it was really a nice experience because
You only have Sunday to work with.
Exactly.
So
And
instead of getting 10 days in a row, it takes you about 10 weeks.
Yeah, and then the first 3 months you're just making eye contact, and then you're sending messages, and all these things. So it was fun, and I used to travel back to Kenya once a year. And at that time, there was no internet. It was like writing letters to the parents, and parents writing letters to me, and that was a very nice part of my
Growing up.
of my childhood, which I remember. And I think to a certain extent, my independence, my ability to take risks, all actually happened when I was studying in Bangalore, and the ability to be away from my parents and living
And you were
on a
very close to
tight
the
budget.
present Chief Minister, Siddiramaiah.
Oh, no, I hope not.
No.
No, not really. Yeah, so the thing is that I finished in Bangalore in 1985, but I still keep in touch with my friends.
Do you
thanks
speak
to the
any
social...
Kannada?
No, unfortunately
Very
not.
so very cosmopolitan sort of setup.
Yes, it is,
So as usual, language was English.
Yeah.
I think we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll go into life post-Bangalore and how you became the entrepreneur you are today. Sanjeev is with us. Stay on Cyrus Says. We'll be back in a flash.
Hey friend, so if you're listening to a podcast right now, you're probably some kind of a nerd at heart at least. So maybe, just maybe, you might like another podcast about nerds, by nerds, and for nerds.
It's called Geek Fruit, a community to unite estranged geeks from across India and later on the world. We talk about television, movies, science fiction, adventure, fantasy, etc. Anything nerdy, it's all here on Geek Fruit. You can catch a fresh episode every Monday.
And you can check us out on any of your favorite podcast apps, like my favorite podcast app, the IVM podcast app. Give me my money, IVM.
Good plug.
Happy listening, you nerds.
All right, back here on Cyrus Says, Sanjeev Gadhia is the CEO of Astral Aviation. Don't have my glasses. And of course, it's an all-cargo airline. But like I said in the beginning, he can give you a ride.
Absolutely.
Or take you for one. Because you're an entrepreneur. That's part of the deal.
Yeah, there's a difference in both of them. Being taken for a ride and going for a ride.
All right, just don't get pornographic on me. Everything else is fine. Sanjeev, we need to get back to where we were, which was Bangalore. At the age of 7 or 8, you were sent there.
That's
and you
right.
speak of being independent and all this. This is a very interesting part of someone's life. I would think that firstly you're away from your parents, so you go into a shell. But also what happens is generally in these kind of places is you bloom after some time.
Absolutely.
Because you have to sort of fight on your own, swim or sink, whatever the phrase is. So tell us.
And I think the best years of my life was spent in Bangalore. I met some very good friends and
girls on Sunday.
And girls on Sunday, and to a certain extent, it was a Catholic school, so I sort of used to go to
a typical Jesuit
church, and
this is an India experience
really,
actually.
It was a fantastic experience. So at the age of 16, I finally.
Did you play cricket and hockey and all that?
Oh yeah, we had three terms. We used to play cricket, hockey, football, and so some of the sporting habits that I developed were all in Bangalore.
Mm-hmm.
Because back in Kenya they do play sports, but obviously it's a lot more better when we actually play cricket in India, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's another story. Cricket in Kenya and why it's dying. It actually took off really well.
It did,
and mixed population playing it as well. But now it seems to be only the Indian guys.
Yes, absolutely, and they're bringing it back. But there was a time when we even hosted a World Cup, which we did with South Africa.
Correct.
And it was
2003.
fantastic. We beat Sri Lanka and we sort of reached
beat
the
the West Indies
semi-finals
in another World Cup.
Yes, absolutely.
Richardson, I saw that match. I cried. I'm a West Indies fan.
It's fantastic, and it's just that there's not been enough support for cricket. But under the new president, we have a lot of support coming in.
Still
for
the
sports.
Kenyatta family.
Yes, the Kenyatta family.
So a bit like us, aren't you?
Yes.
Dynastic politics forever.
Absolutely.
Sorry, again, coming back, because this is another formative years. You're in school, you're having a good time. What is your plan for life?
So after that, my parents decided to send me to London. Mm-hmm. So I ended up going to London, and I did my university there. So I did my bachelor's and my master's.
But what did you
degree.
want to do? What did Sanjeev want to do as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old in your final year in Bangalore?
Well, I really wanted to sort of go into banking, go into investment banking, and that's.
Would there be a lot of your colleagues as well?
No, not really. A lot of people who I studied with were doing a lot of IT related studies.
This is the IT generation.
And the amazing thing is that some of the ones who were very, very good in school ended up doing very dismal jobs, and some of the guys who were the biggest losers like me ended up doing very well.
Isn't this true of a lot of people?
Absolutely.
You
and
see
it's
the guys
just
who study
really
hard and do well and seem to dot their I's and cross their T's, and then suddenly not doing McDonald's.
Absolutely.
And you bought it.
Yeah. and the amazing thing is that we had every 2 or 3 years I go back to Bangalore and we meet up with our friends, and it's so special. We spend a lot of time together talking about the good old days. And just 2 years ago, Bishop Cotton celebrated its 150th anniversary. So I took my wife and my 2 kids with me, and I showed them my dormitory, and I showed them my canteen and the sick room, which is where I used to go a lot, especially to rest and to try and bunk school. So I used to always end up in the sick room. So I even have a tree which I planted over there, so I had to show them the tree as well. So it brings back a lot of good memories, and I think the time that I had in Bangalore was even better than the time I had in London. And London actually
what's
became...
with the Bangalore bars in those days? 10 o'clock they'd stop you'd have to get a last drink. What was the story behind that?
It was a very dry place, really. And if you look at Bangalore in the 80s and if you look at Bangalore now, you can't even believe that it's the same place.
It isn't.
Yeah, and
first it's moved far away from the airport.
Well, absolutely.
It takes 2 hours to get to Bangalore. The airport is in Kerala. It makes no sense.
And the airport was, obviously, the old airport was a lot more smaller, a lot nearer. And, I remember the journey from Bangalore to Kenya.
You passed that kids' camp shop with all the toys and all that.
Exactly.
And some overgrown toy outside performing a Mickey Mouse routine.
And even when I go to my school now, I just don't recognize it because there's so many buildings around it. And
but it's still a very well-known school.
Indeed.
You can't take that away.
Absolutely. And it's got a rich history. And it's still kept a lot of the ethos and the principles of still being.
Are you one of the famous sons of the school? Do they?
Well, I'm not sure that
they call you to talk.
No, not yet.
What the hell, Bishop Cotton? Get with it. Get him to talk.
Yeah, but again, the school is very special for me, and also my friends. Some of the friends that I have met, I still keep in touch with them, and we have our reunions, and we sort of have an active WhatsApp chat. Mm-hmm. So it's really great, and I always get wished on my birthday, which is something which is more special when you actually get wished from your childhood friends. So it's a really great experience. And then
for me it's terrible because they keep finding you. I just, when you escape these guys, this is Sachin Agarwal from somewhere in Finland, happy birthday. I'm like, why? Yeah, this is the other end of the whole WhatsApp generation.
Absolutely.
They find you wherever you are. You can't escape.
You just can't escape them.
Sanjeev, let's get on to London because that's now an important part. You want to be a banker. You spent, 2 or 3 years there studying?
Yes, I was in London for about 6 years. I did 4 years of my university education. And then after that, I worked in the city. I worked for Chase Manhattan Bank, which is an American bank. And really
This is pre-2007, obviously, before it became more Chase than Manhattan. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I decided that it's time to go back to Kenya because I have a Kenyan passport. And I decided to go and work for a bank in Kenya.
Right.
And, having an MBA and worked in some of the best banks in England, I decided to go back to Kenya and I just couldn't find a job.
Are you serious?
And honestly, the only job I could get was at the central bank, earning about...
Didn't Chase Manhattan have a branch in Nairobi?
No, unfortunately not. And at that time, they had a lot of foreign exchange restrictions. If you want to send money for education, you have to go to the central bank and you have to apply for it, and then you get the permission after 1 month. And I felt a little bit lost. So I decided to start up a UN business because, we have a lot of trouble around Kenya.
Right.
We have Somalia, we have South Sudan. So I started up a procurement company doing business with the United Nations, and that's where the idea came up to actually start a cargo airline.
Who pays when you do business with the United Nations? Like, do all the countries have to pay? How does that work?
Well, everybody contributes to the UN, and it's an organization which does a lot of good things. They're in all the difficult places, and the unique thing about Kenya is that we are surrounded by countries which
have strife.
So we had Somalia in the north, Sudan, Ethiopia, Rwanda, the Congo. So being in Kenya was the right place to be in because a lot of the things that were being bought were being bought from Kenya, and we were one of their suppliers. And then we decided to now not only supply but to also do the transportation to the last mile, and that's where the idea of starting up the airline was born. So I told my dad, sorry, I had big plans to go into banking, but I think now I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And that's when the idea of starting up an airline came up.
But what was Dad's business?
Well, my dad was also a banker. So naturally...
Was he disappointed when you said, okay, I want to go left and start an airline?
Well, Dad was a little bit disappointed, but he could see that, the times were changing. And if I just stuck to what he wanted me to do, or what I really wanted to do as a career, I would have not made a lot of progress.
Also, when you had posters of Bernie Maddox in your room, he must have thought, maybe this is not the right way to go. Let's go somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Sanjeev, lots to cover. We have very little time.
Sure.
You are rated as a new generation leader for Africa by the prestigious African Leadership Network. All right. What's that all about? Tell us.
Yes, the African Leadership Network is a network of CEOs, and they found something...
So your peers, in a sense.
Yeah, so they actually found something very special in me. First of all, I'm an Indian.
Yeah.
The second thing is I'm running an airline. The third thing is I'm operating Russian aircraft. So I used to operate.
This is Vijay Mallya's story. Be careful who you flaunt it.
Yeah, so they actually thought that this was a unique story, and very few aviators in Africa, because a lot of the big airlines are owned by the governments and the national...
Nationalized, right.
So now this is a new generation of the private sector going into the aviation business.
Also, you won the best all-cargo carrier almost every year, 2011, 13, 15 and 17.
Absolutely.
So alternate years, but that covers about 8 or 10 years.
That's correct.
You're like the Federer of cargo networks.
Yes.
In the sense, coming back to win all the time.
Yes.
So what is that?
So the company whose event I'm attending in India is a company called the Stat Times Group. They organize an event in Africa called the Air Cargo Africa event, and they have the award ceremony, and you have to sort of write to all your clients and your suppliers to vote for you, and this is a very popular voting system. So from the first event which took place till now, we've been winning the award for the best all cargo airline, and it's really a prestigious award, and we're very grateful to our clients for voting for us, because the service industry is very, very fragile. If you do something bad, they'll remember you, but if you do all the good things, they'll forget that.
It sounds like any relationship,
especially love.
Yeah.
So this is.
But just tell me, so, every time you win this award, you have to give the same speech again. I mean, how does it work?
Well,
you win it again and again. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, you just keep on sort of changing the speech.
Guys, remember 2011, same thing, same guy. I want to thank all of you like I did last year. Please refer to that. You can Google it. If you win it again, I think you just have to say refer to 2011.
Absolutely.
That's it. Okay, didn't know you were involved with the Indian Television Awards, but it's written here that you won the ITA. I'm just kidding. It's the IATA, the Innovation Award for its presentation. Also, you won a whole plethora of awards. We can't deal with all, but we will deal with this one.
Yes.
And please explain it to us, because it's like Greek and Turkish to me. Astral Aerial Services wins the IATA Innovation Award for its presentation on UTM.
Yes.
UAS traffic. There's more.
Absolutely.
What is it?
So we started a new venture last year where we started looking at the use of drones. And you know, drones is the next sort of frontier. It's a new technology. And we believe that drones are going to be the next revolution in Africa after mobile phones. And the reason why we decided to go into drones is because we want to try and reach the person in the village, in the township, who does not have access to a good infrastructure. And one of the things we are looking at is setting up a drones business in Kenya. So the UTM concept is a very sophisticated air traffic management system where you actually create highways in the sky so that drones can operate safely and do not enter into any collision with commercial
drones
aircraft.
doing cargo lifting.
Absolutely.
I can understand drones doing fighting. I think that makes sense. Save the human being and send the drone. Yeah.
So the new generation of drones which we are working on is cargo drones, and they're very popular. You could actually do e-commerce deliveries, you could do medical deliveries. And we're working on a very exciting project where we want to deliver school books to remote schools in villages, and this is where we actually believe that it's going to make a very big difference.
Tell me, in Kenya, do they change the history like we do? Whenever they feel it's appropriate, you know?
No,
this king lost that battle, we just changed paragraph 2. Not yet, right?
No, not yet.
Check those books before they go.
Absolutely.
My big worry is, what if one of the war drones goes as the cargo plane and then starts attacking somebody?
Yes, that's a very big risk. And that is the reason there's a lot of regulations that we are facing in Kenya on the use of drones, because drones can be used for good things and they can be used for bad things as well. And I'll just give an example, Cyrus. Yesterday I was at the Magnetic Maharashtra event at BKC.
Yes, I saw the achievement. This is a picture all over.
Absolutely.
We can't afford to miss it because it's like 8,000 of them.
Yeah, and I came across an Indian company which actually makes drones for the Indian Navy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of drones technology which is also coming up in India. It's just that the regulations are not out yet. But when it happens, it's going to be the next big thing in India.
Yeah. Till then, we have to withdraw most of them.
Withdrawn.
I'm so sorry, Sanjeev. I'm just tired. I haven't had my coffee. Yeah. Another very important point. Mr. Gadhia was also appointed as Vice Chairman of the AFRAA, African Airlines Association Cargo Task Force, in 2016. Also on the Board of Directors of TISCA. Very quickly.
AFRA is an association of African airlines, and we have a lot of challenges in Africa.
So you're now on the board that decides the rules for flying and not flying, who comes in, comes out?
More than the rules, Cyrus, it's a lobby group.
Yeah.
And we believe that if we lobby together as airlines, we can get a lot of work done.
What is business like in Kenya? Is it booming?
Business is really good, but we still have a lot of challenges, just like what we experience in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
And the only way you can face these challenges is when you are a group rather than an individual. And the African Airlines Association is the most powerful airlines group that we have in Africa, and we are a part of that. So when we are working when we have issues with government, we can now be able to take them head on as an association rather than as an individual.
And business between India and Kenya, how's that?
At the moment, the business is dominated mainly with pharmaceuticals. So there's a lot of medicines which are made in India which are taken into Africa. We're also a part of that. But generally we
There's
feel
room
that
for more.
There's room for more.
All right. A letter to Namoji. You need to go and hug Mr. Kenyatta as quickly as possible and spend some time in Kenya. Has he gone to Kenya? I'm not sure. We'll have to check. I don't think he's gone.
No, he was.
So we need a big
he
push
was there last year.
He was.
Yeah, he was there last year.
But I think we should have a bigger push. A closer country, culturally close. We have a lot of Indian expats, or whatever you want to call you guys.
Yes.
So there should be more business between the two countries.
Absolutely. So what's happening right now is that in Africa, everything is being done by the Chinese. They're building the
ports.
It's
not just Africa, my friend.
It's
not just Africa. Yeah.
So the Chinese are literally in.
Taking over.
And we really feel that India needs to come in as well in a big way, because we have a lot more to benefit with Indian cooperation rather than with the Chinese, because they're cultural ties, they're historical ties. And this is where I feel a little bit bad that we're missing out on that cooperation.
My God, so the Indo-China wars just continue on every front in the world. All right. Very interesting. And before we close, Sanjeev, is there anything that I've left out, except that you're a third-generation Indian living in Nairobi, wife and 2 sons? What's family life like?
Oh, family life is fantastic. So my wife is here with me in India, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, she came a week
I'd like to travel with other women, but I mean, to each his own.
Yeah, so my wife loves coming to
is she also of Indian descent?
Yes, she's also Gujarati. Her family has been in Kenya even before mine.
Wow.
And she has been here. She went to Pune for a week, and then she's here with me.
You know what I like about you guys? Because you look look like us, but you're actually from another country, is you're so happy to come home.
Yeah,
You should look at us. You can tell the Indian and the expat Indian. When you're on the plane, you see the Indian, he sees the mess that he's getting back into, and you can see the pain. And then you see the happy expat Indian going home, sunshine. I love the dust. I love the humidity. I love the corruption. I love the infrastructure that's failing. But the thing is, you just love our country because I think you're not there.
And honestly, we were here in December. We were here for 2 weeks. We went to Kerala and took a small holiday, and then went to Ahmedabad, and now we are here for 3 days, and then going to Udaipur on Thursday and Friday.
Oh, that'll be lovely.
Yeah,
and it'll be cold.
And it's our 26th anniversary.
Oh, excellent! Congratulations!
So, thank you so much. So it's on the 22nd, so we are flying off to Udaipur. We're going to be there for 2 days.
Yeah.
And then we're going to our temple, which is just about an hour away from Udaipur, and then we fly back to Nairobi on the 26th. So it's really great being here. We love the restaurants, and there's so much to do, and my wife loves shopping, by the way, so she's just been shopping from morning to evening, so I need to tell her to slow down now. It's time.
I think you tell her first 25 years she had her way. Now we've reached 26. We've got to,
we need to slow down a little.
Slow down a little. Fair enough. The kids,
I have 2 boys. The eldest is Kush. His name is he's 22 years old.
Is the other one Love?
Well, no, the other one is Neve.
Damn it!
I mean, if you actually named your son Love, then he would be pretty upset with you. So
well, on the other hand, it's a very easy word to pronounce, and I always believe that this is a global world now. So give them a name that wherever they go. Krish is easy, Love is easy, Neve is easy.
Yeah, so Neve is 14 years old. So Kush finished his studies. He was in the US, and he joined me in Astral. He's now looking after the drones business.
Superb.
And Neve is a happy-go-lucky guy. He's 14. He's sort of studying in the international school, and he enjoys life, and always sort of in this atmosphere where he's always got the big brother to look after him.
Big brother and the father.
And the father, and I hardly spend any time at home, and it's a great place to raise a family in Kenya. And
do you sometimes, when you want to have a family meeting, just get into a plane and go for a fly ride around Kenya?
Yes, but it's not so nice flying on a cargo plane compared to
sitting on a sack,
bags, sitting on a jump seat. This seat is even more comfortable than a jump seat.
You're your own air hostess.
Exactly. So you have to take your own coffee on board.
Okay, Sanjeev, final words. You were very close to Nirav Modi. Tell us about that whole scam.
Oh, man, I really wish I was. I could have loved to keep some of the diamonds
What's
behind.
What's your letter of credit like?
Bring the diamonds back.
Do you have a Punjab National Bank in Africa, in Kenya?
I'm actually going to try and ask them to open a branch.
Just for you, with a long letter.
Exactly.
All right. Sanjeev Gadhia, of course, is the CEO of Astral Aviation. Wonderful having him here. He's here for an event, but his heart is always in India, although he lives and is a citizen of Kenya. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Cyrus.
We'll leave you with the song Hakuna Matata, please.
Hakuna Matata. Hakuna Matata.
Everybody.
Hakuna Matata.
Are there more lines, Sanjeev?
No, this is the only one that I can remember.
This is what we Indians do to the culture. We just decide that it'll be one line.
Yeah. Thank you, Cyrus.
All right, cheers, man.
Cheers, mate.
We'll take a break, come back with the AMAs.
Tired of the shrill madness of primetime television?
Can't make sense of your morning newspaper anymore?
Then take a break to delve into some real conversations about policy, politics and economics.
Join me, Pavan Srinath,
and me, Hamsini Hariharan,
as we analyze news and views from India and the world and talk to experts on a wide range of issues on the Pragati podcast.
Episodes out every fortnight.
You can find us on the IVM Podcast app or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
If you have any questions for Cyrus, write to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Or you can send an email to whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
All right, time for the AMAs, and in full voice is Naveen, and joining us is Amit, who's just come back from a tour of Malba Hill.
Yes, I did.
Amit, please.
It was a long and disgusting tour.
Let me just quickly mention, Justin Trudeau was in town just before we started this recording.
Yes.
And as you know, every time a prime minister of the smallest island in the world, forget Canada, towards Mumbai, everything comes to a standstill. They shut all the traffic, they shut all the lanes, and we all salute, and no cop knows who the leader is passing.
Yeah, no, that was the crazy thing. So yesterday when I was leaving work, I wanted to go back, so I had to go back from the Sea-Link, and so after Bandra, you take that turn and that U-turn kind of thing. They shut that road down. So I'm like, why have you shut it down? Is the road bad, or is somebody coming, or what? And they're like, "Nahi, bas band kiya."
No, they know somebody's coming. They just know who he is.
No, they didn't.
Canada ka koi hai. No, it's not enough. Know your politics, policeman.
Yeah, even the
politics.
flights were delayed, a lot of them, because of the private carriers roaming around.
Who cares about the common man? Not here, not anywhere. Not an India problem. Sorry.
All right, cool. Question. This question is from Rohan.
Yeah.
Now that I've heard all the episodes of the podcast in the last couple of months, I'm always trying to find my inner you in real life. Often in social situations, I burst out saying something inappropriate in the midst of a conversation in the name of humor. How do you deal with all this in real life? Why have you not been lynched yet?
Carry your own laughter track. That's what I do. Keep a little baja on the side and you say, okay guys, so 2 frogs crossed the river, one fell in. Bring! Ha 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 ha.
Or a drum set with like...
For our people, I think people need cues. What do you think, Naveen? You're a performer yourself. If you just put one plant in the audience who just starts laughing, everybody sort of says, oh, that's funny then.
Yeah, like you just have to try your luck with everything you say. Like, sometimes you hit gold with what you say, inappropriate or not, and sometimes it makes it awkward. So you have to be ready for both of these.
We are such a desperately unfunny people that many of our leading actors and anchors like Shekhar Suman or whatever have to tell the audience almost that it's funny. You know, just finish
yeah.
And you have to do that because they just don't understand otherwise.
I think you've spoken about this a little bit in context of week that wasn't as well, right? Kunal insists on the laugh track.
I hate the laugh track.
Yeah.
I hate the laugh track. I just think it's medieval and it's from the 20s.
Yeah.
But Kunal says, we need the laugh track. Nobody knows it's a joke. I said, you idiot. If they don't know it's a joke, we failed. It's not about the laugh track.
Even like this new reality comedy shows like Queens of Comedy or the Laughter Challenge that came back, they all use canned laughter.
They do?
Yeah, because I was on the sets of Queens of Comedy. I knew where the laughter was.
Having worked with Kanis, I understand. It's best to carry your own laughter. But really, I don't know what else to say except that, in India, you shouldn't take it personally. Very often you say something really funny and nobody gets it. You as a comedian will understand that. You think it's a gem. You think it's very poignant. You think the timing was on and all, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And other times you say the most stupid thing and just everybody's like falling all over.
Exactly.
Don't judge too much. Overanalyze.
I don't even think you need to be a comedian for that. I just never understand what people find funny when you're talking to them. Sometimes it just is like, anything is just the dumbest. People find coincidences funny in India, which is kind of weird, right? How is a coincidence funny? But a coincidence will make people start
Especially
laughing.
when everybody dies. But did you know what happened in Andheri? The bridge collapse. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I find lots of other things funny which people don't find funny. Like I look at people's hair. And me and Kunal have this thing where we like to find out if you're wearing a wig or not.
Okay.
And let me tell you, there are plenty of people who have the old-fashioned wig. Not that thing hair weave thing, but the actual wig.
Okay.
And they just walk around. I find that hilarious.
Like the side locks jutting out from the side.
Jutting out from the side like a bad poster of Major Saab coming back to haunt you. You can see the hair doesn't match the color, the texture, nothing.
Don't
and
just feel like around. I have this tendency that I feel like I want to snatch it and run away.
Yes, that's exactly the feeling. I just want to grab it and hold it for a minute and say, wow.
Yeah, I'll tell you, because even in a Candace green room, right? Like you have to because there's a bunch of comics, you just have to kind of impress everybody, every sentence you say. So I sometimes end up trying too hard, but now I've given that up. But sometimes when a comic comes out of a bathroom, for example, with the lights off, and I'll be like, tune andheri mein susu kiya, and they all laugh at that. Like that's the most absurd, bizarre shit. Like I could
Is it andheri as in the place or andhera?
Andhera, like the darkness.
Okay, and that's the joke.
That's the joke. So it's not even a joke. I'm just saying it, and
you
people
peed
find
in the darkness.
Yeah.
It's a very metaphoric and poignant sentence. It's almost like it tells you so much about the man. Where you going with your life? You're peeing in the darkness. It's like blowing in the wind. It's almost Indian version of Bob Dylan. You are now Bob Dylan. So let me give you a Bob Dylan with an Indian accent. Bob Dylan.
Okay.
Like Donald. I've never understood why our newscasters can't say Donald. Donald Trump. The most well-known man in the world. He'll never get his name right.
What do you think of Junior coming and talking to people over here? Well, it's a massive controversy in the US now all of a sudden because he's paying...
what is his portfolio? That's the question.
So he's going to be doing a policy speech with Narendra Modi at the same event. And besides that,
But in India it fits right in because we're all about nepotism.
That is true.
So for us it's like, what beta come?
No, but in the US they're making a big deal out of it. Also, he is basically, if you put money down for one of the apartments in the Trump complex in Gurgaon, you're invited to dinner with Donald Trump Jr.
Really?
Yes. So $40,000, which is what, 25 lakhs-ish? I guess.
How much you can do tomorrow?
I've
heard all kinds of big investors swarming around. I heard names like Tata's.
You can be in a photo op with the Prime Minister.
I heard Jack Ma wants to buy you. You're going to have 2 Ma's now.
All right, should we...
I think we should start.
All right, let's ask another question.
We haven't even started.
We started one.
We're the opposite of the Indian male. Too much foreplay. Just going on and on.
We got Rohan's question, and now let's ask Dhruv's question. Dhruv asks, hey Cyrus, love your show. Always a big fan of you and the IVM team. I think you should start your own politics. sports and politics.
Oh, nice.
You all are amazing. My question is, do you think it's just a coincidence that Children's Day, which is 14th November, comes exactly after 9 months from Valentine's Day? Or was it the idea of the people who started celebrating it?
What a keen observation. Very nice.
Never heard
How
this.
dare India not celebrate Valentine's Day? We have got proof thanks to this young man. Well done, sir. His name is? Dhruv, you are fantastic because now we can take this back to the courts.
Yes.
We have the evidence that India invented Valentine's Day and reversed it.
Yeah.
We have the children on November 14th and hence minus 9 months. Boom, you
it
got
was
it.
Sant Valenteshwar from.
But I'll tell you the hole in the theory here, and no pun intended.
Yeah.
The hole in the theory is how many of us Indian men get laid at the end of Valentine's Day. Let's face it, the scorecard showing less than 3%.
Yeah.
And 2% were not willingly. If you know
But
what I mean.
I think Chacha Nehru's parents did get lucky on Valentine's Day.
Stop
That's why
it.
he was born on.
Stop it. This is okay till 2019. If the government changes, we can't make these jokes. Remember what jokes you can make when and where. Yeah. All right, Amit, I think before you coughed, we'd answered very carefully and got Dhruv's permission to move on because we've saluted him as a soldier of comedy.
Yeah.
Okay, this question is from Asim. In reference to the Logan Paul controversy, do you think Indian creators are better in terms of morality, or do we have our own world of insensitive behaviors?
Let me pretend like I know everything about the Logan Paul.
So Logan Paul basically.
Thanks.
He was a YouTube. He's a YouTube channel guy.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, my daughter.
And he went into the dead
okay.
bodies or something like that. Like
They sued him. They sued him. YouTube sued him?
No, YouTube kicked him off a bunch of
So
stuff.
basically, he was on YouTube. He was a famous YouTuber. He put a video of a guy
He made fun of a funeral and all that.
of a dead body.
Yeah.
And then YouTube started trending the video. It went to like number one.
Listen, all our film critics have made fun of so many dead bodies. In terms of acting
he had the dead body on video.
So basically, this was a place where people.
My joke, by the way, has gone nowhere.
So this was a place where there were
a funeral.
No, there were people. This was like a suicide forest. Like people go over there in Japan to commit suicide. This is Japan, right?
Yeah, somewhere in
Korea
Asia.
or Japan, somewhere like that. So people go here to commit suicide. So he came across a body, and then he started talking about that on the YouTube channel with showing the body, and that then went viral and trended and stuff.
So his insensitivity basically, in a sense, almost endorsing all this. Yeah.
I don't think that Indian creators are any better. I just think they don't have opportunities to be insensitive in the same way.
I think there's a difference. In India, there's some shows that you watch that you want to commit suicide. So in a sense, it's there, but it's not exactly the same thing.
True.
I mean, sometimes on YouTube, what trends in India is just like mind-boggling, like how bad it
The
is.
scary part is how empty everybody is across the world, that we are embracing this suicidal cult, this black net, what's it called, black net, underworld net?
Blue whale.
The blue whale, the whole blue whale subculture. So many people are... No,
the dark web.
But the blue whale comes from there in a sense. So, the dark web, I mean, but lots of people, there's a market. It's all about demand and supply. There is a market. That's the sad part.
Yeah. But there is. I mean, like, it actually is kind of sad in terms of, like, the degree to which...
why are we fascinated with death, the occult, the black arts, suicide,
the macabre,
blood, challenges? How many people want to kill themselves and show you? Why? When you've got a whole friggin' England series where Virat Kohli has approved himself all over again, coming up in 3 months, what the hell are you thinking?
Yeah, that's one reason to live. Yeah,
that's true. Virat and Kohli.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I mean, like, I think that the suicidal ideology is kind of like.
It's just like pushing this,
right?
voyeuristic tendency a little harder now in this time and age with digital, like,
Hence,
marrying.
Naveen, we come back to our main point is do not ban porn or say anything against porn. Porn keeps us together as a society. And away from this dark web and all these dangerous things, which are far more dangerous. I've always believed leaders who have only sexual issues are safer. Because those are like normal problems.
But the
the
dark
more
web
dangerous
has
the ones who you don't know what the issues are.
Dark web has more kinkier porn than like normal porn. Like, it's even crazier out there.
Check it out then, bro. Check it out.
So for each his own, I feel like, in terms of kings.
For each his own, but we don't know why are people being drawn to suicide.
No, so what I'm saying, right? People in the end, what the consumer wants can be a wide range of things. What normal public wants to watch.
But just because the consumer wants something doesn't mean you need to deliver.
Yeah, that's why dark web exists, right? That's why the whole point.
I would have banned religion if given a chance, but now it's too late. It's already out. Before you know it, boom.
I'm on board.
Yeah. So this is one of those things that went from that side of the web to coming to the YouTube side.
Only good suicide is Juhu suicide, because
what
suicide? It's a really
seaside.
It's a really bad pun where you
very
chow it till the guy can't take it
until you understand.
And then we go back to our problem. Yes.
That becomes an issue as well.
Alrighty.
Okay. All right. Let's do one more question. This one is from Nikki. Thank you for addressing my serious question so well that I forgot what I did. What did I ask? I don't remember what this question was.
The question was, when you feel lonely, what do you do?
Oh,
how do you deal with that? We had a very...
Yes. Well done, you guys. You're putting things up so well. I congratulate you on your popularity. I have another question for Cyrus. She.
As if I didn't know. I was testing you guys. Is she being sarcastic?
Okay. I have another question. How can we untangle ourselves from chipku people? How can people not understand we are ignoring them or not want to stay in their company?
Yeah, I've seen this a lot. There's a gentleman in the club which I go to, and he's always calling people to talk. And you can see the body language when a person is drawn away from you. Like, their shoulders are pointing the other way. And they yes, uncle. Yeah, uncle. But because of, the senior thing where we don't disrespect senior people in India, you carry on talking to him, but your body seems pulled like by a magnet towards some other direction.
You take your
but
phone
he
out.
Doesn't get it.
You do everything.
Yeah, you do everything. What more can you do? Why don't people get it?
Yeah.
I don't know how to deal with it, right? Because the only response is rudeness, and rudeness is not natural, right?
Yeah.
You also feel like you'd be rude to somebody when they're doing something actively negative.
Was not rude enough, so you can't really do that. Then you feel villainous yourself. I do it, but then I'm insensitive.
Yeah.
But I think it's just ridiculous how we don't read body language. Yeah. Someone is looking at you, you can see that they're not really interested, just back off. Yeah. Hence, I didn't date too many girls, because every time I say, hi, how are you, they start walking away. I get the message.
That's indicative.
Then I chase them, they call the police in or whatever. But that's not
the chipko movement was for trees, Cyrus, not for people.
Oh, is it? Even the trees ran away. What's wrong with me, Naveen?
You were in the wrong realm altogether.
I'm one of those comedians who pissed in the darkness, man. Still pissing in the darkness.
All right, cool. I think that's all we got for this one.
Yeah, I think that's great. You guys are fantastic. Who are you?
People.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you, we need you. If you have any questions, write to us online, and you can mail us as well. We will answer. We have a doctor in the house called May.
And that's what Cyrus says.
There she stands, a podcast addict. Outside the bank, having traveled several miles to get in with other poor souls like her. The journey, though daunting for this youngling, will have some comfort because she has downloaded her favorite podcast. You can see more of her species on ivmpodcasts.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.